Let me ask you a simple question. Why is self-respect everything? Think about it. If you lost money, could you earn it back? If you missed an opportunity, could you create another? Of course you could. But if you lose self-respect, everything becomes harder. Self-respect is invisible, yet it is the foundation of everything. It fuels confidence. It guides discipline. It shapes your decisions. Without it, talent hesitates. Opportunity slips. Potential fades. With it, you become unstoppable. The greatest gift you can give yourself is personal development, because personal development begins with how you see yourself. Most people chase success. They chase money. They chase recognition. But they ignore the most important relationship, the one with themselves. Here's the truth. You will never outperform your level of self-respect. Your standards determine your life. If you tolerate little from yourself, you receive little from life. If you demand excellence from yourself, life begins to respond differently. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. That is self-respect speaking. It says, I will improve, I will grow, I will rise. Not because it's easy, but because I demand it of myself. Self-respect is everything. It is the root of confidence, integrity, and success. We're going to explore how to build it, protect it, and live it every single day. Because once self-respect rises, everything else follows. Let me say something simple. Success does not begin with money. It does not begin with connections. It does not even begin with opportunity. It begins with self-respect, because you will never outperform the way you see yourself. Never. Your income rarely exceeds your self-image. Your discipline rarely exceeds your standards. Your results rarely exceed your identity. And identity is built on self-respect. Most people chase results. They chase the promotion, the recognition, the applause, but they ignore the root. The root is internal. You cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. Direction changes. When standards change and standards rise, when self-respect rises, let me ask you something. If you don't respect your time, who will? If you don't respect your potential, why should anyone else? If you don't expect more from yourself, why would life give you more? Life responds to standards, not wishes. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. That statement is self-respect in action. It says, I will improve, I will grow, I will rise. Not because it's easy, but because I demand it of myself. Self-respect is not loud. It does not brag. It does not boast. It simply refuses to settle. It refuses to stay small. It refuses to tolerate mediocrity. And here is something powerful. You don't get what you want. You get what you tolerate. If you tolerate laziness from yourself, you get average results. If you tolerate excuses, you get repeated frustration. If you tolerate inconsistency, you get instability. But if you refuse to tolerate weakness, growth begins. Self-respect determines discipline. Because discipline is simply this, acting in alignment with the person you believe you are. If you believe you are careless, you act carelessly. If you believe you are capable, you act boldly. If you believe you are disciplined, you follow through. Belief drives behavior, and behavior shapes destiny. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment, but only a person who respects themselves crosses that bridge consistently. Think about the areas of your life: health, finances, relationships, career. Wherever self-respect is low, standards are low. And wherever standards are low, results suffer. It's predictable. Success is predictable. Failure is predictable too. Both follow standards. Here's something most people misunderstand. Self-respect is earned, not granted. You earn it when you keep your word. You earn it when you do the hard thing. You earn it when you show up consistently. Every kept promise builds confidence. Every broken promise builds doubt, and doubt weakens action. Action weakens results. Results weaken belief. It becomes a cycle unless you interrupt it. Let me give you a powerful truth. When you respect yourself, you speak differently. You carry yourself differently. You negotiate differently. You decide differently because you no longer accept less than what aligns with your standards. You stop shrinking. You stop apologizing for ambition. You stop lowering the bar to fit in. That is power, quiet power. Self-respect also brings peace because when you know you are doing your best, you sleep better. You think clearer. You move with certainty. There is no hidden guilt, no silent regret, just progress. Your life does not get better by chance. It gets better by change. And change begins when you say, I deserve better, and I will become better. That is the foundation. Success built without self-respect feels empty. But success built on self-respect feels earned, solid, stable, unshakable, because you trust yourself. And self-trust is everything. So if you want more, raise your standards. If you want better results, improve your self-image. If you want lasting success, start at the foundation. Self-respect. Build it daily. Guard it fiercely. Strengthen it consistently. Because once self-respect rises, everything else begins to follow. Self-respect is built slowly, but it can be weakened quickly. Not by failure, not by mistakes, but by broken promises. Especially the promises you make to yourself. Let me explain. When you tell yourself, "I'll wake up early tomorrow," and you don't, something small happens. Invisible, but powerful. When you say, "I'll start the diet Monday," and you delay, something shifts. When you promise, "I'll work on my goals tonight," and you choose comfort instead, another crack forms. And these cracks add up. It's not about the task. It's about trust, self-rust. Every time you keep your word, trust grows. Every time you break it, trust weakens. And without trust, confidence collapses. You begin to doubt yourself. Not loudly, quietly, subtly, dangerously. Most people think confidence comes from success. It doesn't. It comes from integrity, from alignment, from doing what you said you would do. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. But if you don't step onto the bridge, if you turn back each time it feels hard, you begin to see yourself differently and not in a good way. Broken promises create hesitation. You hesitate to set big goals because deep down you don't believe you'll follow through. You hesitate to take bold action because you've trained yourself to retreat. You hesitate to trust your own ambition because your history says you quit. And history shapes identity unless you change it. Here is something powerful. Every time you avoid discomfort, you teach yourself weakness. Every time you choose convenience over commitment, you lower your standard. And when standards drop, so does self-respect. You may smile on the outside, but internally, you know when you could have tried harder. You know when you gave less than your best. You know when you broke your word. And that internal knowledge affects everything. We must all suffer one of two things: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Broken promises create regret. Small regret at first, then larger regret, then frustration, then self-doubt. And self-doubt is expensive because doubt slows action, and slow action delays results, and delayed results weaken belief. It becomes a cycle, a quiet cycle of erosion. Let me give you a simple example. If you cannot trust yourself to wake up when the alarm rings, how will you trust yourself to build a business? If you cannot trust yourself to follow a small routine, how will you trust yourself with big responsibility? The little things matter because they shape identity, and identity shapes destiny. Now listen carefully. You do not lose confidence all at once. You lose it in inches, in skipped workouts, in postponed tasks, in delayed decisions. Each one whispers, "Maybe I'm not that disciplined." And eventually you start believing it. That's the danger. But here's the good news. The same way confidence erodes, it can be rebuilt. The same way broken promises weaken you, kept promises strengthen you. It does not require dramatic action. It requires consistent integrity. Start small. Wake up when you say you will. Finish what you start. Complete one task fully. Follow through daily, because every time you keep your word, you deposit into your confidence account. And over time, that account grows. You begin to trust yourself again. You begin to believe again. You begin to move with certainty again. Your life does not get better by chance. It gets better by change. And the first change, keep your promises, especially the small ones, especially when no one is watching. Self-respect is not destroyed by failure. It is destroyed by inconsistency. Failure teaches, inconsistency weakens. So decide today, no more silent self-betrayal, no more casual commitments, no more promises you don't intend to keep, because every promise you honor builds the person you are becoming, and every promise you break erodes the person you could be. Guard your word even when it's just between you and you, because that is where confidence lives. And once confidence grows again, so does everything else. Self-respect is not just about what you build, it's also about what you refuse. Because here is a powerful truth. What you tolerate, you invite. If you tolerate disrespect, you invite more of it. If you tolerate mediocrity, you invite average results. If you tolerate toxic environments, you invite emotional exhaustion. Self-respect requires courage. The courage to walk away. Now let me say something important. Walking away is not weakness. It is strength under control. It is clarity in action. It is saying I value myself too much to stay where I am diminished. That takes courage, because sometimes what diminishes you is familiar, comfortable, convenient. But comfort is not always healthy, and familiar is not always beneficial. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Think about that. If the people around you complain constantly, you will feel limited. If they mock ambition, you will shrink your goals. If they tolerate excuses, you will normalize them. Environment is powerful, more powerful than motivation. That's why self-respect demands awareness. Who are you around? What are you listening to? What are you allowing? Some relationships drain you, not because you are weak, but because the connection is misaligned. If someone constantly lowers your standards, questions your growth, or resists your progress, you must ask yourself, is this strengthening me or shrinking me? Self-respect says, I will not stay where I am constantly reduced. And sometimes, the hardest decisions are the healthiest ones. Walking away also applies to habits. Habits that steal time. Habits that steal energy. Habits that quietly lower your value. Late nights without purpose. Mindless scrolling. Constant distraction. They seem small, but small habits repeated shape large outcomes. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Failure works the same way, a few small indulgences practiced daily. Self-respect demands that you examine what you repeatedly allow. Now here is the challenge. It is easier to stay, easier to avoid confrontation, easier to tell yourself it's not that bad. But growth does not come from avoidance. It comes from decision, clear decision. Sometimes that decision is, I deserve better. Not from arrogance, from awareness. Let me be clear. Walking away does not mean anger. It does not mean drama. It means standards, calm standards, quiet strength. You do not need to explain your growth to everyone. You simply need to live it. And when your standards rise, some environments will no longer fit. That's not loss. That's evolution. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. Sometimes being better means leaving what keeps you small. Because staying in the wrong place costs you more than leaving. It costs confidence. It costs clarity. It costs potential. And potential is precious. Here is something powerful. When you walk away from what diminishes you, you send a message to yourself. I matter. That message strengthens identity, and identity strengthens action. You begin to choose differently. You begin to speak differently. You begin to expect differently because now you are living in alignment with your standards. But let me warn you, not everyone will applaud your growth. Some will misunderstand it, some will resist it, some will criticize it. That's okay. Growth is not a popularity contest. It is a personal commitment, and self-respect means you keep that commitment even when it's uncomfortable. Imagine a year from now, you've removed draining influences. You've replaced destructive habits. You've elevated your environment. Do you think your thinking improves? Of course. Do you think your confidence rises naturally? Do you think your results change predictably? Because environment shapes identity, and identity shapes destiny. So here is the decision. What in your life is lowering your standard? A habit, a relationship, an environment? Be honest, then be courageous. Because self-respect is not proven by what you say. It is proven by what you refuse to tolerate. Walk away from what diminishes you. Protect your energy, protect your growth, protect your value. Because what you tolerate, you invite, and what you protect, you preserve. Choose wisely. We've talked about why self-respect matters. We've explored how broken promises erode confidence. We've learned the courage to walk away from what diminishes us. Now let's get practical. Self-respect is built daily, not in grand gestures, not in one-time victories. It is built in habits. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Keep your word to yourself. This is the most fundamental habit. If you say you'll wake up early, do it. If you promise to exercise, do it. If you commit to learning, follow through. Every promise you keep strengthens trust in yourself. Every promise you break weakens it. Self-respect begins when your actions match your word. Start small. Finish what you start. Consistency is your weapon. Self-respect grows in discomfort. The moment you face what is difficult, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your excuses. Write down the task you most want to avoid, then do it first. It could be a workout. It could be a conversation you've been avoiding. It could be a task at work you've postponed. Completing difficult actions early tells your mind, I am in control, I am capable. Over time, these victories compound. Your self-respect becomes unshakable. Protect your time and energy. The people you spend time with and the things you engage with shape who you are. Daily habits of protecting your focus. Reinforce your self-value. Say no to distractions. Say no to negative people. Say no to habits that erode your energy. Each no is an act of self-respect. It is a statement. My priorities matter. My growth matters. I matter. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Guard your environment. Guard your mind. Guard your time. Your thoughts are the seeds of your character. Feed them wisely. Read, reflect, learn. Seek knowledge that elevates you. Avoid negativity that diminishes you. Even 10 minutes a day of intentional learning builds confidence and sharpens your judgment. Self-respect is reinforced when you see yourself improving. Growth feels good. Growth strengthens self-rust, and self-rust strengthens self-respect. Your body is the home of your mind. Exercise regularly. Eat nourishing food. Sleep enough. When you honor your body, you honor yourself. Self-respect is holistic. It's not just about thought or action. It is the alignment of mind, body, and spirit. Each evening, review your day. Did you keep your promises? Did you face discomfort? Did you protect your energy? Did you learn something new? Reflection keeps you honest. Reflection highlights small wins. Reflection identifies areas to improve. Self-respect grows when you acknowledge your successes and take responsibility for your shortcomings. Self-respect is not built in one day. It is built in one decision repeated daily. Small habits repeated consistently compound into unshakable self-respect. It is predictable. It is reliable. It is transformative. Your life does not get better by chance. It gets better by change. The change begins with daily habits. The change begins with you. So start today. Wake up and keep your word. Do what's hard first. Protect your time and energy. Feed your mind. Care for your body. Reflect at night. Each day, repeat. Every day. Strengthen. Every day. Honor yourself. And soon self-respect will no longer be fragile. It will become your foundation, your shield, your guide. Because the person who masters these daily habits cannot be shaken by opinion, circumstance, or difficulty. They are unshakable. They are unstoppable. They are respected. And that, my friends, is the power of living with self-respect. We've explored the foundation of self-respect. We've seen how broken promises erode confidence. We've learned to walk away from what diminishes us. We've built daily habits that strengthen our value. Now let's talk about the power that comes from it, because a person who respects themselves is unstoppable. First, self-respect creates clarity. When you know your value, you make decisions with precision. You no longer waver in the face of temptation. You no longer tolerate what is beneath your standard. Every choice becomes a reflection of who you are. And when your choices align with your values, life becomes simpler, clearer, more focused. Second, self-respect builds confidence. Confidence is not something you find outside. It is something you earn inside. Every promise kept, every hard task completed, every boundary enforced, each action whispers to your mind, you are capable, you are reliable, you are worthy. And confidence grows quietly. It grows steadily until it becomes unshakable. Your personal philosophy is the greatest determining factor in how your life works out. A person with self-respect thinks differently, they act differently, and as a result, they attract differently. Third, self-respect protects your relationships. People who respect themselves do not tolerate abuse. They do not allow manipulation. They do not settle for less than they deserve. And strangely, this inspires respect in others because respect is contagious. You show it to yourself, others begin to mirror it. A life built on self-respect is a life surrounded by support, encouragement, and genuine connection. Fourth, self-respect strengthens resilience. Life is unpredictable. Challenges come, failures happen, disappointments strike. But a person who respects themselves does not collapse. They bend, but they do not break. They face adversity with calm determination. They see obstacles as opportunities to prove their integrity. They do not compromise their standards, even under pressure. Self-respect is a shield against the chaos of life. Fifth, self-respect drives achievement. Because when you respect yourself, you refuse to settle. You pursue excellence. You work harder. You grow smarter. You persist longer. You know the value of your potential, and you refuse to waste it. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. This mindset produces results, consistently, predictably, because self-respect aligns identity with action, and action creates outcomes. Finally, self-respect transforms how you see life. It turns challenges into lessons, setbacks into opportunities, criticism into growth. It allows you to move through life with dignity, with courage, with purpose. And here is the ultimate truth. A person who respects themselves never has to chase respect from others. It flows naturally to them because the world responds to self-respect the same way water flows downhill, effortlessly, powerfully, inevitably. So today, ask yourself, are you living with self-respect? Are your actions aligned with your values? Are your daily habits building the person you want to be? If not, start now. Keep your promises. Do the hard things. Protect your energy. Walk away from what diminishes you. Raise your standards. Because the person who respects themselves does not wait for permission, does not tolerate mediocrity, does not shrink from challenges. They live intentionally, they act consistently, they rise steadily, and in doing so, they create a life of integrity, confidence, and unstoppable success. Self-respect is not optional. It is everything. It determines how you think. It shapes how you act. It sets the standard for what you accept in life. If you respect yourself, you keep your promises. You face what is hard. You walk away from what diminishes you. You build habits that strengthen your value. And when all of this comes together, you become unstoppable. The major key to your better future is you. No circumstance can shake you. No opinion can sway you. No failure can defeat you because you trust yourself. You honor yourself. You value yourself. Self-respect is a choice, a daily practice, a standard you live by. Start today. Keep your word. Raise your standards. Do the hard things. And watch your life transform. Not because life changed, but because you did. Self-respect is everything. Protect it, build it, live it, and everything else falls into place.